Welcome to episode 128 of Outside the Circle, a podcast dedicated to new and upcoming country artists, musicians, and songwriters. Today's guest will be Ty StoneHawker. We'll get to him in a little bit, but first, I'm Ronnie, and here's Brian.
What's happening, man? Yeah, we're back. We're both healthy sounding, at least.
Yes. So, it was a tough week there for me, but we're back. We're good.
And another really cool episode that you did during my diaper era. So another one that I'm excited to get to.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I talked to Ty back in early April, and we kind of went through his story a little bit, and I think we mentioned it at the start of the interview, but if not, we definitely mentioned it going into the interview. But for those listening, we caught Ty on his move from the Pacific Northwest to Nashville. So, it takes a whole new meaning to putting the show on the road, because he genuinely was on the road while we did some recording here. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed chatting with Ty, and great guy. Learned a lot about him and his story. Obviously, that's the goal, right? But cool story, and I'm happy people get to hear this.
Yeah, we might have to release like some of the video of that interview, because it's just not awkward, but just like a fun thing of you like stationary in your little home studio, and then him just like in a car with traffic going by and stuff. It's just a cool dynamic.
Yeah, and the start of the video was during the daytime, and then by the end of the video I couldn't even see him because it was pitch black out. So it was fun, and kind of perfectly fit his personality, and it was a lot of fun, and it was definitely a memorable one for me, that's for sure.
Nice. Well, let's get to that interview with Ty StoneHawker.
All right, everyone, we're here today with singer-songwriter Ty StoneHawker. Welcome to Outside the Circle, Ty. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, we're looking forward to it. You've been on our radar for quite a while here, so it's about time we finally sat down and got this going. Yeah, but we always like to start really from the beginning, all the clichéness. So tell us a little bit about where you grew up, and most importantly how important music was in your household, things like that.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I was born and raised in Idaho, which is out there not on the West Coast, but Pacific inland Northwest, they call it. And my family, my dad was a saxophone player all through college and everything. And I remember when I was little, he would bust out his saxophone and play along with Kenny G records. And so that was pretty funny. But he had these 4 Apple boxes of records of vinyl that he just cherished them. And apparently, before Mom and Dad got married, the Apple boxes, there was a 5th one, but Mom made Dad get rid of everything that was Led Zeppelin and heavier. Ooh. And which is, I know, I don't even consider Led Zeppelin to be heavy. So, but that's how, we were raised in a religious home, and that's, one of the things that they did. And so, that just shows you how I was a little bit sheltered. So as my music career kind of grew on, by the time I got out of high school, I had just discovered who the band Fish was, and I really liked them a lot. And then after I left home, I ended up going on summer tour with Fish in a Volkswagen, and we followed the band around and sold beer in the parking lot. And that's how we got from show to show, was our beer money. And it was a lot of fun as a young man. And I made it to every show on the tour. I'm pretty sure I started with a few $100, and it was enough to get a ticket every night, drink a few beers, and make it to the next show. And so I just always loved music, and I just loved the bright lights, and always wanted to get into it. So right around that same time that I discovered Fish, I got a guitar. A friend of mine owed me some money, and he couldn't pay up, so I took his pearl white Fender acoustic. It was like an Elvis Presley model, and I still have it to this day.
Nice.
That was my first guitar, and I remember bringing it over to my buddy that plays guitar, and I'm like, "Show me how to do this, man." And he put my fingers on C and F and G. He was like, "Just these two fingers can be these three chords," and he showed me how to do Free Fallin'. And so Tom Petty's Free Fallin' was my first song, and then I was off to the races after that. That was back in 2000, 2001. So the internet was fairly new, and a new thing called tabs was coming out. And so I spent a lot of time looking up these tabs and printing them off, and learning little riffs and runs through those. And the funny thing is, back then especially, a lot of them were wrong. Because it was just any old person would write them out as they thought it was and put them up there. And then of course chord sheets, and just really started learning a lot of stuff on my own. And to this day, I'm pretty much self-taught. Besides, learning how to play Tom Petty here and there. And just recently, in the last 2 years, I got my first electric guitar and started taking lessons. And of course it's a Telly. Yeah. And so I'm now actively learning how the guitar actually works, but I've got my own style that I created for sure. And then to back that up, I bought an electric guitar in 2009 when I had formed my first rock and roll band called Stony Holiday, and we were playing out, and Dad was at the show, and after this, and I played the electric guitar the whole night, and I've been an acoustic player my whole life, and this was my first time playing the electric at a show. And he came up to me after and he said, "If I see you play the electric guitar again, I will never come to another show." And I put that thing in the case, and it's still there. So I've got a sweet SG that I never play, but I'm learning now. So it's time to unpack the electric guitars, and so that's kind of where I'm at with it,
Yeah. So that's I mean, I feel for Dad for the having to get rid of the Zeppelin and heavier. That's definitely more my range. I tend to go a little heavier in my outside of like the traditional country, etc. Like I tend to fall more in that range. So that would personally break my heart. But yeah, you mentioned Fish. Yeah, they're a heck of a band, and like how was that summer? Like I'm sure you got some crazy stories from just being out on the road. And
yeah, well, the funny thing was the beer money was enough to make it to the next show, but by the time the tour ended in New Hampshire, it wasn't enough money to get home. So I was stuck out in New Hampshire, and I ended up getting a job building house. I want to say building houses, but I didn't finish the first house. I got that first paycheck. It was big enough to get home, and I drove.
Nice.
It took me 4 days sleeping in the car, and it was a beautiful drive, and it was all just part of this experience that makes me who I am. But that and then probably if we thought hard enough, we'd have a story from every night of that tour. Sure. It was pretty wild times. But I also fell in love with the Grateful Dead around the same time, and my family being religious, that wasn't in my dad's Apple boxes. He had the Beatles and he had just about everything else, but the Grateful Dead wasn't in there. So I was actually at a Fish concert, and these guys were listening to the Grateful Dead playing at the back of their car, tailgating, And I walked up to him and I said, "Who is this?" And they were like, "Oh, kiddo, we gotta fill you in. This is where it all started, for that jam band Americana scene." So I came home with a lot of life lessons. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, and mentioning the Grateful Dead definitely plays into that. Um, they always talk about how like when kids grow up and start getting rebellious, coming from their religious background and finding fish and the Grateful Dead and all of that. I want to kind of go back to your dad though for a second. So he played sax. So in your progression as a musician yourself, have you and dad played together ever? Has he jumped on stage with you and
So no, nothing like that, but definitely, and this is a fun thing that we do, and we don't do it every Christmas, but from time to time, everybody that has an instrument will get it out, and we'll do the Christmas songs. Like
nice?
Everybody, because a bunch of them are really easy, C, D, and G, and so like all I want for Christmas is my two front teeth, and I'm sure if you're not in the family, it's just hell to try to listen to that. But it's a really good time, and it really is a lot of Christmas spirit. So, but that's the extent of having dad on stage.
Yeah, I have a handful of musicians in my family as well, and for 364 days a year, half of them don't get along, but Christmas Eve they all break out the guitars, and you wouldn't know that the day before they were fighting over something. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
Christmas music, the musicianship all comes together, and no, that's cool. So you mentioned getting that first guitar, and then fast forwarding to now with the electric. When did you know? Like, I know so you mentioned playing in the band early on, and when did you know that music was going to be like the thing that you were going to focus like your career on?
Well, there was at some point, because when I was out on the road as a young man, we were doing a lot of experimenting with psychedelics. And I think pretty early on, I was at a show and I was popped up on Goofballs, and I just was like, this is what I'm going to do. And I had my little guitar. And so it's just always been the dream. And now I'm living that dream. And for a long time, though, I followed the bottle away from my dream. And I thought that I was still, because I was living in the dream, but I wasn't progressing. I was just in this constant state of pause. And, and I was like a broken record. I played the same 20 songs for 20 years, and I didn't get any new ones. And we just put them in a different order every night and called it, and so now, now I'm writing with fervor and being pretty prolific with my writing. And I sobered up 100. I've got 406 days of sobriety under my belt today.
Thanks, congratulations.
And I'm just staying sober one day at a time, and really living my best life. Moved to Nashville 5 days ago.
Oh, and fairly new, yeah.
yeah. And we still don't have the house. I moved here with my steel player. He's driving right now. Say hi, Mickey.
Hey, how we doing?
And so, so we don't move into the house till the 1st. We just met the landlord today. So great news, everybody. He likes us. He knew more about me than I did when we got there, because he had looked me up, and he was really excited about sobriety. So once again, my sobriety is coming in to play here with helping me get all of this going. So I'm really excited.
Yeah. Isn't that's kind of crazy, right? So you're out there on the internet, on the, it's just so easily accessible that even like your landlord could do his digging before like.
Yeah, he said you're an open book, man. I've thought you. Well, the funny thing was, when we got there today, because we're from Portland, Oregon, moving to Nashville, the first thing he asked us, "Are you boys in Antifa?" And
Yeah.
we explained to him, no, no. Mickey told him about the time he shot a bear, and we were in.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and not to put a bad rap on Nashville at the moment, but there's a lot of transplanting happening from mostly the West Coast. I feel like a lot of California is moving
he
over.
said
And
that.
yeah.
Yeah, he said that. He said the Northeast as well is coming down.
Yeah.
He said if
Yeah.
you're down on Music Row or that whole area, there's no Nashvillians there. That's what he said. So, but we're
Yeah.
20 minutes outside of town. We're out in the country. I can't live in the city. I'm a country boy.
Same.
Yeah.
I'm born and raised New Jersey, but I need my space. I need my
Yeah.
I grew up looking at the New York City skyline, and that was too close, too claustrophobic. Too, as soon as I got old enough, I was out. I was heading south to the sticks in New Jersey.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So you kind of mentioned your own little genre, your own little style of music there. So, drawing inspiration from a bunch of different styles and genres and all of that. Let's kind of talk about songwriting. So, what does that process look like for you? Where do you draw your inspiration from? Things like that.
Right. Well, I'm glad you asked that because I've recently overhauled that whole situation for me, and like my first couple recordings, one in 2009 with Stony Holiday is the name of my original group because my last name is StoneHawker. And Stony, since before I ever smoked my first joint, I did then live up to the name before getting sober, but so Stony is now my alter ego, and I in sobriety have switched to my real name of Ty StoneHawker. And but Stony liked some really far out stuff, and so those writings, those songs, they are still full of love and light and compassion and teaching and self love and all that kind of stuff, but a little harder for the listener to understand start to finish what's going on. Whereas now I've really taken the time to make sure that I'm connecting with my listeners, and I've been doing a lot of songwriting classes. I have a songwriting mentor now. Her name's Andrea Stolp, and she wrote the songwriting curriculum for Berklee School of Music, and mentored John Mayer, and wrote some multi-platinum hits for Faith Hill, and has just been writing for years, and she's so good. And I went to one of her retreats, which you can look her up online, Andrea Stolp, and she does these retreats all over the world, actually. And I went to one of those, and we hit it off. We became friends, and so she agreed to mentor me. I'm of course paying for the mentorship, but I don't think just anybody gets in. At least I'm saying that because I feel special. But either way, just her teachings mixed with YouTube University and just that mentorship program that we're doing has just really helped guide my songwriting, both in understandability for the listener and in just the recipe on how to write a killer song, like where to go to the minor fifth, when to put in a bridge, and all that kind of fun stuff that keeps the listener engaged in music. And then as far as writing the lyrics, that stuff comes to me in so many different places. And I have started doing some like daily routine stuff where I will just put pen to paper for 15 minutes every morning, set a timer so that I, don't get annoyed with myself because I'm either haven't done enough and then when I do these, it's a free write. So anything that comes onto the paper, and you kind of go back over it later and you just make a flow. And then, but I'll be driving like I'm doing now and listening to something that I love, like Paul Simon or something that's real lyrical. And I'll just start getting an idea and I'll turn the radio off and just start dictating into my phone. Or sometimes I just sit down with an intention, with pen and paper, and do it that route. Sometimes I'll have the guitar out and I'll make chords first. And each way makes a song in a different form. Like when I sit down and get a rhythm going with the guitar and then build the lyrics on top of that, it's a little bit of a different style of a song than if I write the lyrics in kind of like a poem, stanzas, and then go to put music to it. And then me being the untrained musician in the group, a lot of times I'll have a melody and I'll have the lyrics and I'll go sing it to one of the guys in the band that's actually a musician, and he'll tell me what the notes are. So there's a lot of different ways to do it out there. And for anybody that's listening that is having writer's block or is struggling or anything, listen to your favorite artists and get inspiration from that. You know, listen to their lyrics, or really just take the time to like be writing while they're playing is sometimes a way to help. And then the one thing to remember is that these are all thoughts and ideas are thoughts, and they can come and go, and they can be good or they can be bad, and you can always change them around, and not to get stuck on one thing. Or it's kind of a free flow. It's just like my big ramble I did there.
Well, what I got out of that, what I like a lot about that, sometimes that's a hard question to ask because we tend to get a lot of the same, like, especially when it comes to like the lyric side of it, we tend to get a lot of the same responses. What really stuck out to me there from you was I like that, one, you have no set way, however the mood strikes, and you're going to follow that. And I like the idea that you're taking the mentorship approach and growing and learning and understanding. I feel like a lot of the times, and this is no knock on anybody we've ever talked to, but sometimes there's a comfortability that people get stuck in. And I feel like how you just described kind of the different ways and setting the morning routine, and maybe you might feel you do, but I get the sense that maybe you don't really fall into like a comfortability, and you're always exploring and learning and doing, which is the most important part.
Right. Yeah. And that comfortability thing that you just mentioned, I got really nervous before I gave up my awesome, comfortable house in Portland and moved. And at one point I had changed my mind and I was going to stay. And once I had decided to stay, I couldn't really get comfortable, and I wasn't sleeping well, and I knew what it was. I knew I needed to follow my dream, and I had already set the plan in motion. So to stop for comfort, because my house was so awesome and I was this close to the golf course, and my running trail that I like is right there, and like all these things and my friends and all this. And then as I'm coming out, all these crazy things are happening on the drive out here with I bought a lemon of a trailer. That's a whole nother story. You can go onto my Instagram if you want to see the story of the trailer that tried to kill me. But so, and I read in this book that comfort is an enemy to success, and that anybody that's been successful has gone through this huge period of discomfort, and that nothing comes easy. And just reading that really put my mind at ease and made me smile and think, okay, so one today sucks, and that's okay. I'm doing it, and it made that crappy day feel good, Yeah. So
yeah. No, I get that. I'm you can't really see in my background, but I'm the house that I'm currently in, I just sold it and I'm moving in 3 days. So I get that getting out of your comfort zone and going after something. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's awesome. All right, so we've been talking about songwriting. We've been talking about the music. So this feels like it's a good time to kind of take our break and put on the song we're going to play for you. So why don't you go ahead and introduce the song, and then we'll talk about it after the break.
This one is Take Me to the Water, my newest single. And Take Me to the Water is a song about it's a one of my older writings, the one that I was talking about, and it's about self-love. It's about loving yourself for no one other than yourself. And it's kind of a baptismal song. Take Me to the Water is I kind of got that from like the Chain Gang. Take me to the water, clank, clank, clank of all the rocks breaking, and just the that kind of a feel is where I got that. So we added the gospel singers to this, and yeah, go ahead and play it, and I'll explain the rest after. How about that?
Your hair, another day. You're gonna make it, man. Anyway, look inside yourself. Tell me what you see. Do you like where you're gonna be? Take me to the water, wade into the sea. I'll find a perfect place for you. You won't have to find one for me. Put your head in my life. You said that you were tired, needed a nap. I gently stroked your hair. When you woke up, I wasn't there. Take me to the water, wade into the sea. I'll find a perfect place for you. You won't have to find one for me. Learn to love yourself. You don't have to do it for me. Let your head down, baby. Go ahead and take a seat. I'm hoping someone would stop in, have some cake, play some gin. I hope it is my special friend, so I can show my silly grin. The one that I produce from deep within, the kind that puts bumps on your skin. You gotta feel good in your skin. You gotta feel good in your skin. Take me to the water, wade into the sea. I'll find a perfect place for you. You won't have to find one for me. Take me to the water, wade into the sea. I'll find a perfect place for you. You won't have to find one for me. Take me to the water. Take me to the water. Take me to the water. Take me to the water.
All right, so let's talk about Take Me to the Water. You started kind of going into it a little bit there before putting it on. So kind of finish up that story a little bit. What was the inspiration behind that song? You know, how did it come to be for you all these years later to release it?
Well, so I recorded a version of that song with the Stony Holiday Band in 2009, and this version is wildly different. I met a world famous producer named Mark Rennig, who owned Prairie Sun Recording Studios in right outside of San Francisco, California. And at that studio, they did the 11 Tom Waits albums and some Greg Allman and Journey and Van Morrison, and just, 40 years of amazing top tier stuff that, we still listen to these days. And so when we were there recording, I went right up to him and said, "Hey man, what would it take?" And I was thinking money. What would it take to get you to produce an album for me? Because we were just renting the studio. He wasn't producing the album.
Yeah.
And he said, "I'll produce an album for you if you get sober." And so I was like, well, pretty selfish reason to get sober, but I called him 3 months later and was like, "I'm fresh out of rehab. When do we start?" And he was like, "Oh crap. Well, I'm going to stick to my word." And then and I had, of course, picked a rehab that wasn't affiliated with Alcoholics Anonymous because I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
And before we got to and I didn't really know that he was a member, but before we started that first day, I got to the studio and he said, "Have you been to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous?" And I was like, "No." And he said, "Get in the car." And we started going. And then I fell in love with that program. And,
Nice.
and then as we were recording this song, we changed some of the lyrics to really vibe with recovery. So you'll hear in the final verse, "Gotta feel good in your skin," which is something we say in recovery. And it's just a really positive song about loving yourself, which is part of recovery as well. Is once you start coming out of the mental fog of drugs and alcohol, one of the first things that happens is you make a connection with yourself. And so this song's super important to me on that level, because we changed enough lyrics that it became a co-write with him and I. So what they say in Nashville, write a word, get a third. So Mook is in on this one. So this is a special song that I wrote with my producer. So it's just a really positive song, and it means a lot to me. I remember when I wrote it, I thought, "Oh, I can't wait to play this for my mom." And when I played it for her, she was like, "Yeah, it's cool." And I was kind of bummed because I really wanted her to be like, "Oh, son, it's so good."
Yeah. No.
So.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love this song. I'm a big fan. So normally when Brian's here, he always talks about like the production side of it. He's an audio engineer by trade, so he could talk whatever technical terms you want to throw at him. I always like to talk about like the feel of the song and the lyrics and just kind of, not a big fan of the word, but the vibes of the music. And the whole self-love, the whole, you mentioned it being kind of like almost like a baptism of sorts. I love that. I feel like there's so much negativity in the world that to get that positive, to not only just a positive song, but to a self-reflective, positive mindset is so hard to come by. And I think you nailed it. I absolutely love this song.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And it's doing really well right now as well. Also, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so that's what I was going to bring up next. So Take Me to the Water just recently released, maybe a month or two now, I believe at this point, following your previous release of Please, Please, Please. So between those two, just, being your most recent releases, and I believe they're going to be on the upcoming album, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Kind of take us through how the response has been to these first two singles here. And then, tell us a little bit more about that album, what we can expect from it.
Okay, awesome. So this time I'm releasing my music with a little bit more of a recipe, because I've got the heavy hitter producer. and we went in and to the studio, and I've got, you know, one of Zach Brown Band's studio bass players on bass, and I've got Hank Early from the Turnpike Troubadours playing pedal and banjo, and we've got the gospel singers, and we had some bluegrass guys come in and play, and we just really did this album proper. And you know, but in order to get, and he told me this, Muka told me that in order to get him to work with me, he's been doing it his way, and his way is, you know, the Wrecking Crew way, with all ringers, and it shows, because this album is just so good. And the Please 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 came out 2 months ago, and because I switched to Ty StoneHawker and I'm doing the solo thing, and I'm new now. Even though I've been playing music for 20 years, no one knows who Ty StoneHawker is. Even my Stony Holiday fans, a lot of those people don't know my name is Ty. Yeah. So we decided to do a waterfall series of singles, and so we picked our favorite 3. Well, and actually, my favorite song's not even in the waterfall series. My favorite song, called Sometimes, that's on the album, is just, it's a little slower, and so we didn't want to. You know, and I've got a publicist at Music City Media, and so she's helping me along as well. So it's like the producer got me to this point, and that's as far as he could take me. So now in hand, I have this amazing album, and then I'm like, the next, you know, unless you're doing everything by yourself, which is amazingly hard to do. So then the next step is you get a publicist, and they take you to this next, you know, this next part of the journey, and then it just goes from there. And so, because I'm doing all the managing myself right now. So you know, this is the ideas of the publicist, was to do a single every 2 months and then release the album. And it's been such a blessing to have her, and all the connections that I'm getting through her. And so the Please 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 that came out on June 26th already has 350,000 spins, and it's just crushing it. And that's like a bluegrass song, and I wrote that in jail, and it's a song, it's me asking God, please, 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 if you let me go back to my baby, I promise I'll never cheat, lie, and steal again. And it's fiery banjo and all that. And then this song came out on, so Take Me to the Water just came out on April 5th, which was Muka, my producer's birthday. Nice. So I set that up for him to, you know, kind of just a thank you for everything. You know, I mean, I'm more thankful for the sobriety that I got out of this than I am for everything else that's coming my way, because none of it would be happening to me if I didn't change my life and, you know, make a connection with a higher power and get spiritual. And you know, if I keep my recovery as my number one thing, then everything else I do is kind of number one quality. And that's kind of my little motto that I've got going. And the universe just keeps handing me. And even when I try to get down on myself, I get pulled out by just the amazing people and things around me. So, and then we're going to do one more single, and that's going to come out in, I think we're down to less than a month now. And that one is While You Are Gone. And that one is about a girl named Lisa that I loved very dearly. We were engaged at one point, but I was a little. It's hard to be so wild that the most wild person you ever met that want to be with you anymore. Yeah. So, but that song is about my free-spirited lover that, you know, barefoot and always gone somewhere doing something, and I'm just waiting right here patiently for her to come home. And that one you'll hear. Are we playing that one?
No. So we're.
No. Okay. So I'll just tell you a little bit more about that one. That one, you'll hear like you'll hear the band. I is an influence, and John Prine is an influence there, and so kind of that kind of style. It's a lot of fun. And then the album releases in July, and really excited about this album. And then again, it's only 6 songs is all we got done. And the other 3 songs on the album are just this caliber. They're just a little folkier, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's yeah. So July. So that's soon. Like you mentioned, you got While You Were Gone, and then July's right around the corner. So, yeah, it's going to be a nice couple of months here for you. I like, going back to, just being thankful for what you got out of this process, and the sobriety and all of that. I'm sure, and obviously each individual has their own experiences and how they go through things, but I'm sure, as somebody who has released music over the last 20 years, I'm sure there's a little bit of a different appreciation, maybe, for the process you're going through now, and I think, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like having my own story, I guess I could say. I would imagine that it's cool to see this all come together, the way it has for you.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like it seems like before I was doing all this stuff kind of with my eyes closed, and now I'm able to not only watch it happen, but be grateful. And then one of my biggest things is to pay it forward. I've already had 2 of my close musician friends ask me how I did it, and I've been able to help them get on a better path as well. And so that feels good, and that alone will help even keep me sober. You know what I mean? Because I'm now their example. So I also been writing a lot more, and I've started recording a new album. But I mean, that's a conversation for another time. But I'm just that excited, and I know it's dangerous to try to make up for lost time, but things are happening pretty fast for me right now, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, no, it's I don't know. I mean, I guess I could agree that it might be, dangerous to think of it in that sense, but also at the same time, we go through our trials and tribulations and all of that to get to where we are. And for whatever reason, right now is the time for you to hit the ground running, and it's clearly showing with these first 2 singles, and the album just around the corner, and already starting on the next album. It's
Right.
Yeah, I mean, your time is your time, and nobody but you is gonna change that. So yeah,
I love it. I love that. I love that you said that. Yeah.
But yeah, all right, cool. So let's so we got the album coming out soon. Yeah, I feel it. What are we in now? We're actually, I mean, technically in May, I guess, at this point. So we got about a month or 2. You mentioned the new single. Is there anything coming down the line that you want to touch on? You just mentioned Nashville. You hitting the ground running now that you're down there. You looking to play out? Like, what's your plan now that you're in Nashville?
Okay, so so we got to Nashville. We're doing festival vending. I have property down in Guatemala that I bought about 6 years ago with some friends, some business partners. So we have built over the last 6 years this beautiful plant medicine, yoga, and art retreat. That's like just a great little place to go reset and get well and practice yoga and art, music, all that kind of stuff. And I actually loved the idea of it and got invested in it so that I can go there and rehabilitate myself, and I would literally show up there in such bad shape and get sober for a couple of weeks, dry out, but then as soon as I left there, I'd be back at it. I wasn't trying for any kind of long-term sobriety. I just loved having my little spot that I could go clean myself up for a little bit. And then since I got sober and went down there more recently, they were all so relieved that I showed up, and I was already in such I was in the shape that I would leave in when I showed up, and it was just a breath of fresh air for them. And so that was cool. But anyway, so in the 5 years that I've been down there, I've started importing coffee. And one of the main reasons there was CDs stopped selling while we're playing out, or anywhere for that matter. And so what do you sell at the show? So we had this crazy idea one summer. We made a bunch of pickles. We got my great aunt's pickle recipes out, and we made pickles, and we sold more pickles at that first show than we ever sold CDs. And I always say, I don't know what that says about my music, but I know what it says about my pickles. And so I just came up with this idea, and I think it needs to be infectious, is that you need something on your merch table that people can resonate with and take home. So pickles, the coffee is where that led me to. And so on the bag of coffee is the QR code for your album. So you're buying an album and you're getting a bag of this upper echelon coffee. The coffee beans that I import rated an 87 in their cupping notes, which is the top 10% of all coffee in the world rates that high. So really delicious stuff. And when I first got into the coffee game, I couldn't taste the difference between Folgers and this, what they call boutique coffee. But now I can taste. And when they say in their cupping notes, hints of rich chocolate and caramel, and I'm like, well, where you guys are? It tastes coffee. And now I'm starting to taste that kind of stuff too. And so I started importing the coffee from Guatemala, and I've met the family that farms the coffee. And so everybody's getting paid, and there's no what I call blood beans going on. It's all fair trade, organic, farmer direct, and so we put that on our merch table and double branded as Ty StoneHawker Coffee. And again, you get a credit. We get a credit for selling an album, which is hard to do these days for an independent artist. Yeah. And you get a bag of coffee. And if you want to download, see, the thing is, people don't even want to download the album anymore because they can stream it and save the space on their phone. So, but just by buying the bag, we get to count it as an album sale. So, and that's a good idea for any other independent artist that's listening. And you don't have to go source your own beans from Guatemala. Shoot, get in touch with me, and we'll bag you up with your logo on it, some beans for your table. And then where else were we going with that one?
No, just what you got coming on down the line, and So we got the coffee there in Guatemala and the retreat space. I lost my train of thought. You'll have to ask me another one.
No, that's all good. It's
okay. That's actually I mean, we're pretty much closing up, but you put coffee in front of me, it all tastes the same to me. I'm not a coffee guy, but again, I wish Brian was here because he would sit here and talk all sorts of notes and tastings, and that's awesome that you have this outlet in Guatemala, but then also the the entrepreneurial spirit kicked in, and you have this two birds with one stone kind of thing going on. And that's awesome. Yeah, you got to give people something to buy off the merch table. Okay, so that brings me, I remembered where we were going with all that. So what I'm doing to pay for the cost of this music career until I get my band together. Now that I've moved to Nashville, I moved out here with my pedal steel player in the hopes of putting a band together and getting our show on the road.
And having just made my second album that won't be available to listen to till next year, in Oklahoma with the Turnpike Troubadours and one of their producers as the ringers on that album. In order to pay for all that stuff and get keep living my dream, I'm vending at festivals all summer long, and so we'll be at the Greenbelt Music Festival in Clive, Iowa on the 17th and 18th, and then the very next weekend we're at the Cave Music Festival in Pelham, Tennessee, that's Memorial Day weekend, 25, 26, 27. Then we have 3 weeks off to go enjoy our new house, and then we're at for months doing festivals out there. So then after Labor Day weekend, we come home and we'll continue that plan of putting the band together and start booking shows for the rest of the winter. Yeah.
Nice. Well, yeah, you definitely have quite a 2024 planned out for you.
I do.
For kind of all that information, where can our listeners go to find you online and all that good stuff?
Okay, so if you just type in Ty StoneHawker, and StoneHawker is spelled StoneHawker, like stone, the stone bird, StoneHawker, caw. And then that's what I say about my coffee: fly high like a hawk. You know what I mean? That stuff will get you going. And so Ty StoneHawker on all streaming platforms and all the social medias. And the music's free to just go give it a listen, and I'm really proud of it. And again, it's easy to listen to because we had the best guys we know playing the music, and I'm not so bad myself. So my mom says.
Well, that's the most important. If your mom says, everything else is, who cares?
Yeah, right, yeah. Right. I love that. I love that.
But yeah, Ty, man, it was a pleasure chatting with you. I
Thanks, man.
Hope everybody that's listening jumps on board. And we played "Take Me to the Water" in the interview. We'll put on "Please, Please, Please" at the end of the episode. So yeah, I mean, I'm super stoked to see what you got going on and to hear your story and continue following along. It's going to be a good journey for you, and I'm excited to watch it unfold.
Hey, I appreciate you for having me on, man. We'll see you again. I'll come back.
Yeah, let's definitely do it.
Okay, cool, man.
All right, so that was Ronnie's interview with Ty StoneHawker. Another really cool one, man. A super dynamic dude, and what a story.
Yeah. I mean, anytime we could talk about traveling the country and especially following bands like Fish and kind of just living life the way you want to, and I really enjoyed talking to Ty, and I hope everybody enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yeah, I definitely liked it. And, we said it at the beginning of the episode, but yeah, I mean, the fact that you interviewed him on his move to Nashville, is such a cool thing. Like, talk about a fresh and new start to a career, and that, he was able to sit down and talk with us. So we definitely wish him all the best in his, furthering his career in Nashville. And then, secondly, I'm a coffee junkie, and I mean that in a way of like, I actually like coffee, not the sugar and cream kind of coffee. So I might have to try to find me a bag.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said in the interview, definitely keep an eye out for that stuff, because it sounds like it's coming sooner than later. And I know he's got some product kind of in circulation, but he's hitting the ground running on that and getting down to Guatemala and all that good stuff. But yeah, definitely keeping himself busy. Definitely, fresh to Nashville, fresh to some other adventures outside of music. And he's gonna have a real cool ride here, and I'm excited to follow along. Yeah,
same here. And we definitely want to thank Ty for coming on Outside the Circle. Be sure to follow him on all of his social media, music listening platforms. We'll leave you today with another track from Ty StoneHawker, While You Are Gone.
You were so bright when I saw you coming that I couldn't look away. I couldn't let you pass by. I couldn't wait another day. We were hanging around this town. You know we couldn't stop. Laughing at everything on our way to the top. You're shining like a diamond, eyes in the light. We all know you're crazy, and that's alright. Because you're cool as a cucumber, you're pretty as a swan. You can do anything you want, keep on keeping on. You can do anything you want, keep on singing along. You can do anything you want, and we'll be right here, right here, right here while you are gone. While you are gone. While you are gone. While you are gone. I miss you when you weren't missing. I don't know how long it took me to realize you weren't missing at all. You were there the whole time. You never got too far. I just had to remind myself just who you are. You're shining like a diamond, eyes in the light. We all know you're crazy, and that's alright. Because you're cool as a cucumber, you're pretty as a swan. You can do anything you want, keep on keeping on. You can do anything you want, keep on singing along. You can do anything you want, and we'll be right here, right here, right here while you are gone. While you are gone. While you are gone. While you are gone.
It feels so wonderful having you by my side
By my side
tonight.
tonight.
Nothing can go
Nothing
wrong,
can go wrong.
'cause the moment is
The
right.
moment is right.
I love watching you
I love watching you
shine your light, shine your light.
shine your light, shine your light, shine your light, shine your light. We like the good times, yes, we like them a lot. So whip out your boogie, baby, show me what you got. We're gonna dance all night long until we drop. Some things will never change, your love will never stop. You're shining like a diamond, eyes in the light.